Mindset Shift, audiobooks. Becoming the Person Who Finishes, a reflection on discipline, identity, and self-trust. Welcome to Mindset Shift Audiobooks, a place for becoming. Here you'll find the structure to build more abundance, more success, more life lived on your terms. If this resonates, subscribe for daily content. Let's begin. Introduction. Most people are good at starting. They're excited, they're motivated, they launch with energy and optimism. But very few people are good at finishing. Not because they're lazy, not because they're not capable, but because finishing requires something that starting doesn't. Starting requires excitement. Finishing requires discipline. Starting requires vision. Finishing requires execution. Starting requires belief. Finishing requires self-trust. And most people never develop the identity of someone who finishes. They're perpetual starters. They have 10 projects in progress and 0 projects complete. They have ideas, plans, good intentions, but no results, and the gap between who they are and who they want to be is filled with unfinished work. This audiobook is about closing that gap. It's about becoming the person who doesn't just start, but finishes, not perfectly, not flawlessly, but completely. Because the person who finishes is not more talented than the person who starts. They're just more committed, more disciplined, more willing to do the unsexy work when no one is watching. And that commitment, that's what separates dreamers from builders. Dreamers start, builders finish. Dreamers talk about what they're going to do. Builders show you what they've done. Dreamers wait for perfect conditions. Builders work with what they have. And the difference is not talent, it's identity. Because finishing is not just a behavior, it's a way of being. It's who you are. And when finishing becomes part of your identity, when you see yourself as someone who completes what they start, everything changes. You stop abandoning projects halfway through. You stop letting perfectionism paralyze you. You stop waiting for motivation to carry you. You just finish. Not because it's easy, but because that's what you do. And over time, finishing compounds. The completed projects stack. The skills deepen. The confidence solidifies. And you become someone who people can count on. Someone who delivers. Someone who doesn't just talk, but executes. This is the identity shift. From starter to finisher. From dreamer to builder. And this audiobook will show you how to make that shift. Not through motivation, not through hacks, but through the deep internal work of becoming someone who finishes. Because you don't need another course, you don't need another strategy, you don't need another tool. You need to become the person who uses what they already have, who executes what they already know, who finishes what they already started. And that person, you can become them, starting now. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why most people don't finish. Let's start with the truth. Most people don't finish because finishing is harder than starting. Starting is exciting. It's new. It's full of possibility. You're energized by the vision. You can see the outcome. You believe it's going to work. But finishing is unglamorous. It's repetitive. It's the grind. It's the part where the excitement has worn off and all that's left is the work. And when the work stops being fun, most people stop doing it. They tell themselves they'll come back to it later. They convince themselves they need a break. They rationalize that maybe this project wasn't the right one anyway. And the project goes unfinished, added to the pile of other unfinished projects, another idea that died in the middle. So let's break down why this happens, because once you understand the pattern, you can interrupt it. Reason 1: the excitement gap. When you start something, you're riding the high of newness. You're motivated, you're inspired, you can't wait to work on it. But after a few days, a few weeks, the excitement fades, and what's left is just the work, the daily grind, the unglamorous execution. And if you've been relying on excitement to fuel you, you collapse the moment the excitement is gone. This is why motivation is unreliable. Motivation gets you started, but it doesn't get you finished. Finishing requires discipline, and discipline doesn't need excitement. It just shows up. Reason 2: perfectionism. You start a project, it's going well, but then you notice it's not perfect. It's not as good as you imagined. So instead of finishing it as it is, you stop. You tell yourself you'll come back when you know how to make it better, but you never do, because perfectionism is a trap. It convinces you that if something isn't perfect, it's not worth finishing. But that's a lie. Done is better than perfect, because done creates momentum. Perfect creates paralysis. And the person who finishes imperfect work will always outpace the person who never finishes, because they're waiting for perfection. Reason 3: shiny object syndrome. You're working on a project, it's going okay. But then a new idea shows up, and the new idea feels more exciting, more inspiring, more promising. So you abandon the current project and chase the new one. And the cycle repeats. New project, initial excitement, fade, new idea, abandon, repeat. And you end up with a graveyard of unfinished projects and nothing to show for all the effort. This is shiny object syndrome. And it's rooted in the belief that the next idea will be easier than the current one. But it won't. Every project has a messy middle. And if you keep abandoning projects in the middle, you'll never experience the breakthrough that comes from finishing. Reason 4: fear of judgment. You're almost done. The project is 80% complete, but now you have to share it. Put it out into the world. Let people see it. And the fear kicks in. What if it's not good enough? What if people don't like it? What if I get criticized? So instead of finishing and releasing, you hold it. You tweak it. You add more. You convince yourself it's not ready yet. But it's not about readiness. It's about fear. And fear keeps more projects unfinished than anything else. Because finishing means being seen. And being seen feels vulnerable. But vulnerability is the price of impact. And if you're not willing to be vulnerable, you'll never finish anything meaningful. Reason 5: lack of identity. This is the deepest reason, and it's the one most people miss. You don't finish because you don't see yourself as someone who finishes. You see yourself as someone who starts, who tries, who has good intentions, but not someone who completes. And when finishing is not part of your identity, it will always feel optional. It will always feel hard. It will always require you to force yourself. But when finishing becomes part of your identity, when you see yourself as someone who completes what they start, it's no longer optional. It's just who you are. And that's the shift. From behavior to identity. From I should finish this to I'm someone who finishes. That's what this audiobook is about. Not just finishing one project, but becoming the person who finishes every time. Chapter 2: The Identity of a Finisher. Finishing is not just a skill, It's an identity. And the difference between someone who finishes and someone who doesn't is not talent. It's not intelligence. It's not even discipline, at least not at first. It's how they see themselves. The person who finishes sees themselves as someone who completes what they start. And that identity drives every decision they make. Let me show you what this looks like. The starter says, I'll start this project and see how it goes. The finisher says, I'm starting this project and I'm finishing it. That's non-negotiable. See the difference? The starter is tentative. The finisher is committed. The starter says, I'll work on this when I'm motivated. The finisher says, I'm working on this today. Motivation is irrelevant. The starter waits for conditions. The finisher creates conditions. The starter says, this isn't turning out the way I imagined. Maybe I should stop. The finisher says, this isn't turning out the way I imagined, but I'm finishing it anyway. The starter abandons when it gets hard. The finisher adapts and keeps going. The starter says, I have so many ideas. I'm going to start them all. The finisher says, I have one project in progress. I'm finishing it before I start the next one. The starter spreads energy across 10 things. The finisher focuses energy on one thing until it's done. The starter says, what if it's not good enough? The finisher says, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be done. The starter is paralyzed by perfectionism. The finisher is liberated by completion. This is the identity shift. And it's not about being hard on yourself. It's about being honest with yourself. Because the starter identity is safe. It protects you from failure. Because if you never finish, you never have to face judgment. You can always say, I'm still working on it. But the finisher identity is brave. It's vulnerable. It says, here's what I made. It's not perfect, but it's done. And that vulnerability, that's where growth happens. So how do you shift from starter to finisher? Step 1, declare the identity. Stop saying, I'm trying to finish more projects. Start saying, I'm someone who finishes what I start. This is not affirmation. This is declaration. You're not hoping to become a finisher. You're deciding you are one. Step 2, make decisions from that identity. Every time you're faced with a choice, ask, what would someone who finishes do? Would they abandon this project because it got hard? No, they'd push through. Would they start a new project before finishing this one? No, they'd stay focused. Would they wait for perfect conditions? No, they'd work with what they have. And then you do what the finisher would do, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's hard. Step 3, prove the identity to yourself. Every time you finish something, anything, you're proving to yourself that you're a finisher. Finish the blog post, finish the workout, finish the book, finish the project, and acknowledge it. I finished, because that's what I do. This is how you solidify the identity, not by thinking about it, but by living it. Step 4, let go of the starter stories. Stop telling yourself, I'm just not good at finishing. Stop saying, I get distracted easily. Stop claiming, I'm more of an ideas person. These are stories. And stories become self-fulfilling prophecies, so replace them. I used to struggle with finishing, but I'm someone who finishes now. And then live into that new story. This is the identity shift. And it's the most important work you'll do, because once you see yourself as someone who finishes, finishing stops being a struggle. It's just who you are. Chapter 3, the discipline of finishing. Finishing requires discipline, not the rigid, punishing kind, but the kind that's rooted in self-respect. Because discipline is what carries you when motivation is gone, when excitement has faded, when the project is 60% done and you're tempted to abandon it. Discipline says, I committed, so I'm finishing. And discipline is not about forcing yourself, it's about honoring yourself. Here's what discipline looks like in the context of finishing. Discipline 1. You don't start more than you can finish. The undisciplined person starts 10 projects at once. They're excited about all of them, but they finish none of them. The disciplined person starts one project, finishes it, then starts the next one. This is not about limiting creativity. This is about respecting your capacity, because every unfinished project is mental clutter. It's weight. It's evidence that you don't follow through, and that evidence erodes self-trust. So you discipline yourself to focus, one project at a time, finish it, then move to the next. Discipline 2. You set realistic timelines. The undisciplined person says, I'm going to finish this in a week. And when they don't, they feel like they failed, so they abandon it. The disciplined person says, this will realistically take a month, so I'm committing to a month. And they break it into weekly milestones, and they show up consistently. This is discipline, not setting impossible standards, but setting honest ones and honoring them. Discipline 3. You show up even on low energy days. The undisciplined person only works when they feel inspired, when they have energy, when conditions are perfect. The disciplined person shows up regardless, even on low energy days, even when they don't feel like it. And on those days, they do less, but they still show up. Because discipline is not about doing the same amount every day. It's about showing up every day. Some days that's 100%, some days that's 20%, but you show up. And that consistency, that's what finishes projects. Discipline 4. You finish before you perfect. The undisciplined person tries to make it perfect before they finish, so they tweak endlessly, and they never release. The disciplined person finishes first, then refines. They ship version 1.0, and they improve it later, because done is better than perfect. And you can't refine what doesn't exist, so you discipline yourself to finish, even if it's not perfect, even if you see flaws, even if you wish it were better, you finish. Then you iterate. Discipline 5. You protect finishing time. The undisciplined person lets life interrupt the work. They say yes to every request. They let distractions derail them. The disciplined person protects finishing time. They block it on the calendar. They say no to non-essential requests. They create boundaries because finishing requires focus, and focus requires protection. So you discipline yourself to create the conditions that allow finishing to happen. Discipline 6. You finish even when no one is watching. The undisciplined person needs external accountability to finish. They need someone checking in, someone expecting it. The disciplined person finishes for themselves because they committed, and their word to themselves matters. This is the deepest form of discipline, internal accountability, self-trust. You don't need someone else to hold you accountable. You hold yourself accountable, and that self-accountability, that's what builds unshakable self-trust. Discipline 7. You celebrate finishing. The undisciplined person finishes something and immediately moves to the next thing. No pause, no acknowledgement, no celebration. The disciplined person finishes and pauses. They acknowledge the completion. They celebrate. even if it's just a moment of recognition. I finished, I said I would, and I did. Because celebrating finishing reinforces the identity. It proves to yourself that you're someone who follows through. And that proof? That's what makes the next finish easier. This is the discipline of finishing. And it's not about being hard on yourself. It's about being true to yourself. It's about honoring your commitments, protecting your focus, trusting your process. And when you do that, finishing stops being a struggle. It becomes a practice. Chapter 4. The cost of not finishing. Let's talk about what it costs you to not finish. Because unfinished projects are not neutral. They're not just forgotten ideas. They're active drains on your energy, your confidence, and your self-trust. Here's what not finishing costs you. 1. It costs you self-trust. Every time you start something and don't finish it, you're proving to yourself that you can't be trusted. You said you'd do it, and you didn't. You committed, and you abandoned it, and your subconscious takes note. She doesn't follow through. She can't be trusted. And over time, that erodes your self-trust. You stop believing yourself when you say you're going to do something. Because you have a track record of not finishing. And without self-trust, you can't build anything meaningful. Because building requires you to commit to long-term visions. And if you don't trust yourself to follow through, you won't even start. 2. It costs you momentum. Unfinished projects create mental clutter. Every project you start and don't finish is still taking up space in your mind. I should finish that. I need to get back to that. I'll do that eventually. And that clutter drains energy. It creates guilt. It makes it harder to focus on anything new. But finished projects create momentum because every time you finish something, you prove to yourself that you can. And that proof fuels the next project. And the next. Finishing compounds, not finishing stagnates. 3. It costs you credibility. If you're constantly starting things and not finishing them, people notice. They stop taking you seriously. They stop believing you when you say you're working on something because you have a track record of not delivering. And that lack of credibility, it limits opportunities. It limits partnerships. It limits growth. Because people want to work with finishers, people who deliver, people who do what they say they're going to do. 4. It costs you results. This one is obvious. If you don't finish, you don't get results. The half-written book doesn't get published. The half-built course doesn't get launched. The half-completed project doesn't create impact. And you stay stuck, working hard but never seeing outcomes. Because outcomes require completion. 5. It costs you confidence. Every unfinished project is evidence that you're not capable. At least that's what your brain tells you. I couldn't finish that. I'm not disciplined enough. I'm not good enough. And that evidence erodes confidence. You start doubting yourself. You start questioning if you're cut out for this. But it's not that you're not capable. It's that you haven't practiced finishing. And confidence doesn't come from thinking you're capable. It comes from proving you're capable through finishing. 6. It costs you time. Unfinished projects waste time because you've already invested hours, days, weeks into something that will never see the light of day. And that time is gone. You can't get it back. But if you'd finished, that time would have created value, a completed project, a result, proof. Instead, it created nothing. 7. It costs you peace. Unfinished projects haunt you. They sit in the back of your mind like guilt. I should finish that. Why haven't I finished that? What's wrong with me? And that inner dialogue, it's exhausting, it's heavy, it robs you of peace. But finishing creates peace, because when something is done, it's done. You can let it go, you can move on, you can rest. So let's add it up. Not finishing costs you self-trust, momentum, credibility, results, confidence, time, and peace. And for what? For the comfort of not being vulnerable? For the safety of not being judged? That's not a fair trade. So if you have unfinished projects right now, make a decision. Either finish them or officially close them. Don't let them linger in limbo. Don't let them drain you indefinitely. Finish them or let them go. But don't carry them as open loops anymore, because the cost of not finishing is too high. Chapter 5: How to Finish What You Start. Let's get practical. How do you actually become someone who finishes? Not theoretically, practically. What are the steps? Here's the framework. Step 1. Finish something small first. Don't try to finish your biggest, hardest project first. You'll overwhelm yourself. Start with something small, something you can finish in a day, a week, a month, a blog post, a short video, a simple offer. Finish it completely and prove to yourself that you can, because finishing one thing builds the muscle, and that muscle makes finishing the next thing easier. Step 2. Define what done looks like. One of the reasons people don't finish is because they never defined what finishing means. So the project keeps expanding, the goalposts keep moving, and done is always just out of reach. So before you start, define done. This project is done when I've written 10,000 words and published it. This project is done when I've created 5 modules and launched the course. This project is done when I've designed the framework and shared it. Clear finish line, no ambiguity, and once you hit that finish line, you're done, even if it's not perfect. Step 3. Break it into milestones. Big projects feel overwhelming, so you avoid them. But if you break the project into smaller milestones, it becomes manageable. Instead of write a book, it's Week 1, outline. Week 2, Chapter 1. Week 3, Chapter 2, and so on. Each milestone is a mini finish, and each mini finish builds momentum. Step 4. Schedule finishing time. Finishing doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you protect time for it. So schedule it. Block it on your calendar. Treat it like a non-negotiable appointment. And during that time, you work on finishing, not starting new things. Finishing what's already in progress. Step 5. Remove distractions. Finishing requires focus, and focus requires removing distractions. So when you're in finishing mode, turn off notifications, close unnecessary tabs, put your phone in another room, tell people you're unavailable, create an environment that supports finishing, because your environment is either helping you or hindering you. Step 6. Use deadlines. Deadlines create urgency, and urgency creates action. So set a deadline, not an arbitrary one, but a realistic one. This project will be finished by, and commit to it, publicly if possible, because public commitment adds accountability. Step 7. Finish before you perfect. Repeat this to yourself. Done is better than perfect. Your first draft doesn't have to be your final draft. Your version 1.0 doesn't have to be flawless. It just has to be finished. So finish it, even if you see flaws, even if you wish it were better. You can refine later, but you can't refine what doesn't exist. Step 8. Celebrate the finish. When you finish, pause, acknowledge it, celebrate it. Don't just move to the next thing. Stop and recognize, I said I would finish this, and I did, because celebrating finishing reinforces the identity. It proves to yourself that you're someone who follows through, and that proof makes the next finish easier. Step 9. Reflect on what worked. After you finish, take a few minutes to reflect. What helped me finish this? What got in the way? What would I do differently next time? This reflection turns finishing into a skill. You're not just finishing, you're learning how to finish better. Step 10. Start the next thing only after finishing the current thing. This is the discipline. No new projects until the current one is done. Because starting new things feels exciting, but it fractures your focus. So you discipline yourself to finish what's in progress before starting something new. And that discipline, that's what separates finishers from starters. This is the framework. It's not complicated, but it works. And if you follow it, you will finish. Not because you're more talented, but because you're more disciplined. Chapter 6. When perfectionism keeps you from finishing. Perfectionism is not about excellence, it's about fear. It's the fear of being judged, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of being seen as less than. And that fear disguises itself as high standards, as caring about quality, as wanting to do it right. But really, it's just a way to avoid finishing, because if you never finish, you never have to face judgment. And perfectionism is one of the biggest reasons people don't finish. They get 80% done. They look at what they've created, and instead of finishing, they start picking it apart. This isn't good enough. This could be better. I need to add more. I should redo this section. And the project stays in perpetual refinement, never finished, never released, never creating impact, because perfectionism convinces you that good enough isn't good enough. But here's the truth: perfect doesn't exist. And waiting for perfect means waiting forever. So let's talk about how to finish when perfectionism is screaming at you to keep refining. Reframe. 1. Done is better than perfect. This is the mantra you need to internalize, because a finished, imperfect project creates value. An unfinished, perfect project creates nothing. The finished blog post, even if it's not your best work, helps someone. The unfinished one helps no one. The finished course, even if you see flaws, transforms someone. The unfinished one transforms no one. The finished offer, even if it's version 1.0, generates income. The unfinished one generates 0. So done is always better than perfect. Not because you're settling, but because finished creates impact. Perfect creates paralysis. Reframe. 2. Version 1.0 is supposed to be imperfect. You're not launching the final version. You're launching the first version. And version 1.0 is supposed to have flaws. That's how you learn. That's how you improve. You can't iterate on something that doesn't exist. You can only iterate on something that's finished. So, finish version 1.0, release it, get feedback, and then create version 2.0. That's the process, and perfectionism wants to skip version 1.0 and jump straight to version 10.0. But that's not how it works. Reframe. 3. Your standards are higher than your current skill level. This is the gap that perfectionism exploits. You have taste. You know what good work looks like, but your current skill level can't produce that yet. And perfectionism says, if you can't make it as good as you envision, don't release it. But that's a trap. Because the only way to close the gap between your taste and your skill is to finish things, to create volume, to practice. You don't get better by refining one thing forever. You get better by finishing many things. Reframe 4. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction. Perfectionism is a form of inaction. It's hiding. It's procrastination dressed up as diligence. But imperfect action creates momentum. It creates feedback. It creates learning. So take imperfect action. Finish the thing even though it's not perfect. Release it even though you see flaws, because action is what moves you forward. Perfectionism keeps you stuck. Reframe 5. No one is paying as much attention as you think. Perfectionism assumes everyone is scrutinizing your work, judging every flaw, noticing every mistake. But they're not. Most people are too busy with their own lives to analyze your work that deeply. And the people who do notice flaws, they're either builders who respect the fact that you finished or critics who wouldn't be satisfied no matter what you created. So stop performing for imaginary critics. Finish for yourself. Finish for the people who will actually benefit. Reframe 6. The work improves through finishing, not through endless refinement. You think that if you just refine a little more, it will finally be good enough. But the work doesn't improve through endless refinement. It improves through finishing and iterating. Finish it, release it, see how it performs, get feedback, and then improve it based on real data, not imaginary standards. This is how great work is built, not through one perfect project, but through many finished iterations. So if perfectionism is keeping you from finishing, recognize it for what it is, fear, and choose courage instead. Finish the thing, even if it's not perfect, especially if it's not perfect, because imperfect and finished is better than perfect and imaginary. Chapter 7. The Power of Finishing Badly. Let me tell you something radical. You don't have to finish well. You just have to finish. And sometimes, finishing badly is better than not finishing at all. Let me explain. Finishing badly means finishing even when it's not your best work, even when you know it could be better, even when you're not proud of it yet. It means shipping version 1.0 even though you see all the flaws. It means publishing the blog post even though it's not as polished as you'd like. It means launching the offer even though you wish you had more time to refine it. It means finishing imperfectly, messily, quickly. And that might sound like lowering your standards, but it's not. It's raising your standards for completion and lowering your standards for perfection. Because here's what finishing badly gives you. 1. It builds the finishing muscle. Every time you finish something, even if it's not great, you're proving to yourself that you can finish, and that proof is powerful. Because it rewrites the story that says, I never finish anything. Now the story is, I'm someone who finishes, even when it's hard, even when it's not perfect. And that identity shift, that's what makes the next finish easier. 2. It creates momentum. Finished projects, even imperfect ones, create momentum. They build confidence. They prove that you're capable of seeing things through. And that momentum carries you into the next project and the next. But unfinished projects, they create stagnation. They drain energy. They erode confidence. So finishing badly is better than not finishing, because finished creates momentum. Unfinished creates paralysis. 3. It generates feedback. You can't get feedback on something that doesn't exist. You can only get feedback on something that's finished. So if you finish badly, if you ship version 1.0 even though it's rough, you get real feedback, real data, real responses, and that feedback tells you what to improve, what's working, what's not. But if you keep refining in private, you never get that feedback. You're just guessing. So finishing badly is actually the fastest path to finishing well, because it gives you the information you need to improve. 4. It teaches you what matters. When you finish badly, you learn what actually matters. You thought the design had to be perfect, but when you shipped it with rough design, people still bought. You thought the copy had to be flawless, but when you published it with typos, people still engaged. You learn that perfection is not the barrier. Finishing is the barrier. And once you cross that barrier, you realize that most of the things you were obsessing over didn't matter. 5. It removes the pressure. When you give yourself permission to finish badly, the pressure is gone. You're not trying to create a masterpiece. You're just trying to get it done. And that removes the paralysis, the overthinking, the fear. You can just create, just execute, just finish. And often, when you remove the pressure, the work gets better because you're not in your head. You're just flowing. 6. It builds resilience. Finishing badly and surviving it builds resilience. You ship something imperfect. People see it. Some people love it. Some people criticize it. Some people ignore it. And you realize you're okay. You didn't die. The world didn't end. And that resilience, that's what allows you to keep creating, keep finishing, keep putting work into the world, because you're not precious about it anymore. You're just building. So here's the practice. Finish badly on purpose. Pick a project, set a tight deadline, and finish it even if it's rough. Ship the blog post even though you wish you had more time. Launch the offer even though it's version 1.0. Publish the video even though the lighting isn't perfect. And watch what happens. You'll finish, you'll get feedback, you'll learn, you'll improve, and over time, finishing badly becomes finishing well. Not because you're lowering your standards, but because you're practicing finishing so much that the quality compounds. So stop waiting to finish perfectly. Finish badly, and let the iterations make it better. Chapter 8. Self-trust and the act of finishing. Finishing is not just about completing projects. It's about building self-trust. Because every time you say you're going to do something and you do it, you're proving to yourself that you're trustworthy. And every time you say you're going to do something and you don't, you're eroding that trust. This is the invisible cost of not finishing. It's not just the unfinished project, it's the erosion of self-trust. And without self-trust, you can't build anything meaningful, because building requires long-term commitment, vision, belief in yourself even when there's no proof yet. And if you don't trust yourself to follow through, you won't even start. So let's talk about the relationship between finishing and self-trust. Finishing builds evidence. Self-trust is not built on affirmations. It's built on evidence. You can tell yourself, I'm disciplined, I'm committed, I follow through. But if you have no evidence to back that up, you won't believe it. But every time you finish something, you create evidence. I said I would finish this, and I did. And that evidence stacks, project after project, commitment after commitment, until you have a body of proof that says, I'm someone who finishes. And once you have that proof, self-trust is automatic. You don't question it. You just know. Finishing quiets the inner critic. Your inner critic uses your unfinished projects as ammunition. You never finish anything. You always give up. You're not disciplined enough. And that voice is loud, persistent, convincing. But every time you finish something, you silence that voice, because now you have proof that the voice is wrong. I did finish. I am disciplined. I do follow through. And over time, the inner critic gets quieter because the evidence is undeniable. Finishing creates internal validation. When you don't finish, you seek external validation to feel good about yourself. You need people to tell you you're capable. You need likes, comments, praise. But when you finish consistently, you create internal validation. You don't need people to tell you you're capable. You have proof. You've done it before. You'll do it again. And that internal validation, that's freedom, because you're no longer at the mercy of other people's opinions. Finishing builds confidence in your vision. When you don't finish, you start doubting your vision. Maybe this isn't the right path. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. But when you finish, you prove that you can execute on your vision, that you can take an idea and make it real. And that proof builds confidence, not arrogant confidence, grounded confidence. I've done this before. I can do it again. And that confidence allows you to dream bigger, to commit to longer timelines, to trust yourself with more ambitious projects. Finishing creates emotional resilience. When you finish something, especially something hard, you prove to yourself that you can handle discomfort, that you can push through the messy middle, that you can keep going when motivation is gone, that you can finish even when it's not fun. And that resilience, that's what allows you to take on bigger challenges, because you know, I can handle hard things. I've done it before. Finishing removes the shame. Unfinished projects carry shame. Every time you see them, you feel guilty. I should have finished that. What's wrong with me? But finishing removes the shame, because there's nothing to feel guilty about. It's done. You can let it go. And that release, that's peace. So if you want to build self-trust, finish things. Not because finishing is virtuous, but because finishing creates evidence, and evidence creates trust, and trust creates freedom. Start small. Finish something today, even something tiny, and then acknowledge it. I said I would, and I did, and then do it again tomorrow, and the next day. And over time, self-trust becomes automatic, because you've proven to yourself over and over that you're someone who follows through. And that's the foundation for everything else you want to build. Chapter 9. Becoming the person who finishes. So here's where we land. Becoming the person who finishes is not about tactics. It's not about hacks. It's not about perfect strategies. It's about identity. And identity is built through repetition. You become the person who finishes by finishing, over and over, until finishing is just who you are. Not because you're forcing it, but because you've proven it to yourself so many times that it's no longer in question. Here's the process. Step 1. Finish one thing, not 10 things. One thing. Pick something small, something you can finish today, this week, this month, and finish it completely. No half measures. No, I'll come back to this later. Finish it. And when you do, pause. Acknowledge it. I finished, I said I would, and I did. This is the seed, the first piece of evidence. Step 2. Finish the next thing. Now that you've finished one thing, do it again. Pick the next project. set a finish line and finish it. And again, acknowledge it. I finished again because that's what I do. This is the second piece of evidence, and the pattern is starting to form. Step 3, keep finishing until it becomes identity. Finish the third thing, the fourth, the fifth, and at some point, maybe the 10th, maybe the 20th, you'll notice something shift. You'll stop questioning whether you can finish. You'll just know, because you have proof, a body of work, a track record, and that proof is undeniable. Step 4, protect the identity. Once you've built the identity of someone who finishes, protect it. Don't let yourself slip back into old patterns. Don't start 10 projects and abandon them. Stay disciplined, stay focused, keep finishing. Because identity is not permanent, it's maintained through consistent action. So you keep showing up, you keep finishing, and the identity gets stronger. Step 5, raise the stakes. Once finishing small things becomes automatic, raise the stakes. Finish a bigger project, something that takes months, something that scares you, and prove to yourself that you can finish that too, not because you have to, but because you want to see what you're capable of. And when you finish it, you'll realize, I can finish anything. This is the process. And it's simple, not easy, but simple. Finish one thing, then the next, until finishing is just who you are. And when that happens, everything changes. You stop being someone who talks about what they're going to do. You become someone who shows what they've done. You stop being someone who starts and abandons. You become someone who starts and completes. You stop being someone who needs motivation. You become someone who has discipline. And people notice, not because you're bragging, but because the work speaks for itself. You have a portfolio, a body of work, proof of execution. And that proof, that's credibility, that's authority, that's trust. So if you want to become the person who finishes, start today. Finish one thing, no matter how small, and then do it again tomorrow. And over time, you'll look back and realize you became the person who finishes, not because you tried to, but because you did the work consistently until it became who you are. Conclusion. Finishing is not about talent. It's not about intelligence. It's not about having perfect conditions. Finishing is about identity, discipline, self-trust. It's about deciding that you're someone who completes what you start and then proving it to yourself through action over and over until it's no longer a decision. It's just who you are. And when you become the person who finishes, everything changes. Your confidence solidifies, your self-trust deepens, your credibility strengthens. You stop being someone who talks about what they're going to do. You become someone who shows what they've done. And that shift, that's what separates dreamers from builders. Dreamers start, builders finish. And the world needs more builders, more people who don't just have ideas, but who execute, who don't just have vision, but who create. So if you've been someone who starts but doesn't finish, know this: you can change. You're not broken. You're not incapable. You just haven't practiced finishing yet. But you can start now. Pick one project, set a finish line, and finish it. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, just completely. And then do it again and again until finishing becomes automatic, until it's just who you are. Because you don't need more ideas, you don't need more strategies, you don't need more inspiration. You need to become the person who finishes what they start. And that person, you can become them. Starting today. So stop waiting. Stop perfecting. Stop overthinking. Just finish. Finish the blog post. Finish the offer. Finish the project. And prove to yourself that you're someone who follows through. Because on the other side of finishing is freedom, confidence, momentum, and a body of work that proves you're not just a dreamer, you're a builder, and builders finish. Thank you for listening, and if this resonated, subscribe for more audiobooks on money, identity, and building a life that belongs to you. You can find them at moneyfamuse.com. Thank you for your support. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.